The Israelis have finally admitted that they killed Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh back in May. And again, we didn't need to wait several months for the Israelis to admit that. We already knew this, but here's the report from CNN, and then we'll go through it.
For the first time, Israel is admitting there is a high possibility one of its soldiers shot and killed Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. Abu Akleh was wearing a vest labeled press when she was killed during an Israeli military operation in May. CNN's Hadass Gold is live for us in Jerusalem. Hadass, tell us what Israel is now saying and just how long it took them to get to this point.
Well, Brianna, this is a long-awaited report. It's been nearly 4 months since Shireen Abu Akleh was killed while covering that Israeli military operation in the West Bank. And this IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces investigation, essentially comes to the same conclusion that several investigations, including CNN's own, has come to. And I'll read to you from part of this report. They say it appears that it is not possible to unequivocally determine the source of the gunfire which hit and killed Ms. Abu Akleh. However, there is a high possibility that Ms. Abu Akleh was accidentally hit by IDF gunfire fired towards suspects identified as armed Palestinian gunmen during an exchange of fire. Now, what the IDF says is that they believe that it was a soldier in an armored military vehicle who had a limited range of sight and was south of where Shireen Abu Akleh was standing who fired that fatal shot. Now, they say that the soldier had no idea that he was firing towards journalists and thought he was firing towards Palestinian militants who were firing at the soldiers. This despite the fact that it's very clear in the images and videos we've seen that Shireen Abu Akleh was wearing a protective vest and helmet that clearly says press on the front and back. And CNN's own investigation did not find evidence of militants in the exact vicinity where she was standing. When I asked the IDF about this, they said that they do believe that there were militants northbound of here. Now, they say the soldier is sorry, but most importantly is that the soldier will not face any criminal consequences. The military advocate general of the Israeli military.
Oh, well, thank God he's sorry. I'm glad he's sorry.
Says that's because they do not believe he deliberately fired his weapons towards a non-combatant.
Wow. So, again, let me go through the timeline with you because here's what happened, right? You know, this wasn't one bullet that killed her and that was that. No. They were firing at the whole group of journalists. So, you know, this theory that, oh, well, he didn't see that she was a journalist, even though the press, you know, she's not stupid. She's been doing this for 20 years, right? She's been doing this for 20 years. All of these people are professionals. They have helmets on. It says press here and it says press on the back, just in case you have an Israeli behind you, right? What a coincidence. Isn't that great? This is 6 people that we're talking about. It's a group of people. It's not one person. And they're all being shot at. And when they tried to save her, they were shot at. There's video of it. We've gone through this a million times. So I don't buy this, that, oh, he didn't know. Again, you can look at the history of the people that Israel has killed, man. They love to call themselves the most moral army in the world. Moral what? In what way? In what sense? You have a very funny definition of the word moral. I mean, they've killed people in the United Nations many times. Many peacekeepers have been killed by the Israelis. They've bombed many UN things, such as UN schools and UN bases, right? UNRWA, which operates in Palestine, is different from UNIFIL, which is in South Lebanon. And nevertheless, you've had people from both that have been killed. They kill civilians all the time. I mean, why is this beyond belief that they did this on purpose? And okay, they say we're not sure that we killed her, but the soldier is sorry. Well, why is he sorry then if he didn't kill her? What do you mean? what does that mean? Why would you be sorry for something you didn't do? Because keep in mind, the guy who is reading out the statement said the soldier has said he's sorry and I am sorry. So both of you are sorry for killing this woman, and then you say, but we don't know if we killed her. This is from Shireen's family, okay? And they put out a statement in response to this Israeli report. And what did they say in the statement? They said that we've known for over 4 months that an Israeli soldier shot and killed Shireen, as countless investigations conducted by CNN, by the Associated Press, the New York Times, Al Jazeera, Al-Haq, B'Tselem, and the United Nations, and others have all concluded. And yet, as expected, Israel has refused to take responsibility for murdering Shireen. We are hurt, frustrated, and disappointed. This woman was not just Palestinian, she was American as well. And I think it's very unfortunate for the Americans, right? Because if she was an American, they wouldn't even have commented on this. Now they were forced to, and this put Biden and Ned Price, poor him, all in an awkward position because now they have to pretend to care about her. And what happened? Biden went to visit the Israelis. He didn't say a word. He didn't even raise this topic that one of his own citizens was killed on the job while she's reporting on Israeli soldiers by an Israeli soldier. Regardless what the Israelis say happened, regardless of what you believe, what you think happened, Shireen would have never been killed if the Israelis were not bullies. The Israelis raided Jenin, okay? They raided Jenin. They raided the West Bank. They invaded and committed acts of aggression on Palestinian soil. If they weren't there, she wouldn't have been killed. She wouldn't have had anything to cover. She only came out to cover their raid, and they killed her during that raid. Do you understand? So this idea that, well, it was, okay, maybe we did it, but it was an accident. What do you mean accident? Why were you there in the first place? Why don't you just go and leave and stop killing people by accident? Right? Because you can say the same thing about like Americans in Afghanistan or Australians in Afghanistan. Like, why are you there in the first place? Accident, premeditated. This is irrelevant. You shouldn't be there in the first place. Right? They should not even be there in the first place. Nevertheless, I am not surprised because Israelis attack journalists all the time. They attack the UN all the time. They attack people who are, supposed to be left alone, supposed to be medics as well, right? You are forbidden from attacking these groups. These are protected. If there's a war, there's no war. You don't attack medics or journalists or peacekeepers, and they still do it all the time, right? They do it all the time. They've been doing this forever. It's nothing new. And I guess they had hoped that no one would realize or take note, but they killed very famous journalists. No one, there was no way that people were just gonna leave this alone. And I think the way they reacted is also disgusting. What happened first? Because when she was killed, they said, "Oh, we didn't do it, but Palestinians killed her." They tried to pin it on the Palestinians, and then you saw these groups, these organizations and outlets I just listed: the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. They all did their own investigation, and not one of them could substantiate what the Israelis were saying. Not one of these investigations could came out with the conclusion that maybe it was a Palestinian government. Not one. This is. Even the Israelis, the next day, they said that actually we're not sure. We don't know who killed her. Maybe it was Palestinians, maybe it was us, we don't know. And then there was nothing for a while, and then the bullet, right? The Israelis tried blaming the Palestinians again. They said the Palestinians won't give us the bullet. We want to examine the bullet, and that way we can substantiate maybe who killed her. Because you can sometimes, not always, you can match the bullet to the barrel of a specific gun. Each one is unique. If you're able to gather this forensic evidence, if you're able. And then the Palestinians refused to hand it over. They said, no, we will give it to someone, just not you, because you killed her. We suspect you of killing her. And then the Israelis said, oh, well, the Palestinians, they refuse to cooperate. They won't give us the bullet. Then the bullet, went to the Americans, and the Americans looked at it and they said, we don't know who killed her. We can't, the bullet is too damaged to figure this out. That's their conclusion. And then the Israelis said the same thing now with their report, which they took 4 months to make. I'm confused because they had a drone up there filming the whole time. They have their own soldiers that they can speak to, and they took them 4 months? How come it took you 4 months? It took the New York Times less than that. It took B'Tselem 1 day to figure out you're lying. So in the end, the Israelis are sorry, but they're not sure they did it. Speaking of Israeli crimes, right? Because they claim they're the most moral army in the world. Just last night, what did the Israelis do? They bombed Syria. Complete the sentence for me. Who did they bomb? Right? They bombed the international airport in Aleppo and the one in Damascus. Again, this is from Al Jazeera. So, oh, excuse me, I got the wrong one. 31st of August. I love this. I love this. You know why? It's exactly what I told you. The Israelis will they'll go into the Aqsa Mosque or they'll bomb Syria, and then you'll find the exact same crime that they did last week. Don't worry. They did this last night as well. They went to Aleppo, and here's the headline from last night. Okay, so not from 31st of August. I'm glad the one from 31st of August came up just so I can prove my point that they do this literally every week. So that's 31st of August. This is from last night. This is from 6th of September, also from Al Jazeera. And it says, second Israeli attack in a week damages Aleppo airport, right? So Aleppo is the largest city in Syria, the most populated. It's the economic center. And they damaged the runway again. And so, this is... I really don't know what to say. There's... you can see the strike over here, and it's disabled. That's it. That's all I can say. That there's nothing more to add. The Israelis repeated the same crime. They bombed a civilian airport, and they damaged it. And when I say damage, I mean it's out of action. It's unusable. So that's they bombed Damascus International Airport. They bombed Aleppo International Airport, and then bombed it again within a week. But don't worry, because I promise they're the most moral army in the world. They really care about journalists and civilians, and they're very careful. I mean, that you can just see from the photo how, like, with what pinpoint accuracy, right? They love to say how specialized and precise they are, right? But yet they can't figure out when they shoot a journalist. That doesn't sound like you. That doesn't sound like the Israelis not to know what they've done. They look very competent to me. I guess we'll never know.